Well, good evening. We'll begin tonight's meeting. Welcome, commissioners. Welcome, city management, department heads, members of the public that have joined us. We're glad that you're here with us this evening. We are, of course, allowed to have people join us in person, although there are still some limitations with that. And we are streaming on the city's Facebook page as well as the city's website, which is cityofclovis.org. We'll begin tonight's meeting with a word of prayer, and then we'll go into honoring our flags. If you would pray with me, please. Our Father in heaven, we praise you for the many blessings that you give us freely each day. We thank you for our wonderful city and community. We ask your blessings for health and prosperity. And Lord, we thank you for placing us all in such a wonderful place. And we, as elected officials, thank you for the privilege of serving in this capacity. Guide us this evening and lead us to make good decisions pertaining to the city's business. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in honoring our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, the Zeta symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Our meeting is called to order. Ms. Reyes, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Levitt?
Here.
Commissioner Madrid? Commissioner Casals?
Here.
Commissioner Elliott?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Here.
Commissioner Garza?
Here.
Commissioner Rowley?
Here.
Commissioner Paula?
Here.
Mayor Morris?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Reyes, very much. Next is approval of tonight's agenda. Commissioners, you've had the opportunity to look over the agenda. Do you recommend removing or rearranging any of the items?
Not at this time, so I move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Garza, second from Commissioner Elliott. Please vote.
Nope.
Or not.
Ms. Reyes, could we have a roll call on that vote, please?
Commissioner Casals?
Yes.
Commissioner Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Paula?
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt?
Yes.
Thank you. By a vote of 7-0, the motion is carried and tonight's agenda has been approved. Next is approval of minutes. Commissioners, we have the minutes from the Thursday, April 1st, 2021 meeting in your packet. You've had the chance to review those. Do you recommend any changes, or is there a motion to approve them as they're printed?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant, second from Commissioner Garza. And we'll see if the electronic voting system is working. Commissioners, please vote. No? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Yes.
Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Paula?
Yes.
Commissioner Levitt?
Yes.
Commissioner Casals?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes. By a vote of 7-0, the motion is carried and the minutes are approved. Next is recognition of visitors. I'd like to again welcome everyone to the meeting. It's great to look out into the North Annex and see folks actually attending our meeting in person. I assume that you're all here for an agenda item. We look forward to hearing from you when we get to that point in our meeting. And I believe we have at least a couple, if not several, joining us by video conference, and we would like to welcome you as well, and we look forward to hearing from you. Commissioners, next is proclamations, awards, and presentations, and we have 4 items there this evening. And the first is a presentation to Toby Lopez, Sanitation Collections Department. And we have Mr. Bunch here, as well as video conference, and we would like to welcome you as well. We'll pause for a moment.
Somebody's on the, been on mute. Who's the, on mute?
Is it Zoom? Google Zoom. So you didn't sign in on your account?
Somebody's not on mute.
Why didn't you set up?
It's Johnson.
Okay. Let's see how we do now. We have a presentation to Toby Lopez, Sanitation Collections Department, and Mr. Clint Bunch, we'd give you the floor, sir.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. Tonight, I'm here to celebrate a man's career. That man is Mr. Toby Lopez. Toby Lopez was a sanitation collections driver.
We have a presentation to Toby Lopez, Sanitation Collections Department, and Mr. Clint Bunch, we'd give you the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll pause again.
Yeah, please.
Okay, Mr. Lopez is here with us tonight. As I stated, he was a sanitation collection driver for the Sanitation Department and Public Works for 34 years. Mr. Lopez started it, I believe, in March of 1987, correct? I was just getting out of high school at that time, and look at my hair right now. That was a long time ago. Mr. Lopez has been a model employee for the city of Clovis. His route was mainly in District 3. Mr. Lopez took pride in that district and pride in his work. He was the type of employee that always showed up, was always dependable, always there, knew how to maintain and run his vehicle to the max. Never had a problem with Mr. Lopez. I don't believe we've ever had a crossword in the 25 years that I've known you. And that's a pretty special person when it comes to things like that. I'm glad he got to retire. I wish him well in his retirement, and I'll call Mr. George Gutierrez up, his immediate supervisor, to give a few more words.
Thank you.
Hello, George Gutierrez, Sanitation Superintendent. I've been with the city 15 years, and Toby obviously was before me. Showed me a lot. Learned from him and Nick Gonzalez, another former employee with the city, and Ray Martinez, the superintendent that was before me. Yeah, like Clint said, Toby, excellent employee. Did his route on his truck, picked up trash. We're trash men. I've been doing it for a while. Clint's been doing it Toby's been doing it for a lot longer than me. 34 years. I'm not saying he's an older gentleman, but I'm 41, so. He says how long he's been with the city. Yeah, it's not time, but I mean, it's a good thing for him to retire, 34 years. He's winning. He won.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Agreed.
All I got, yes, sir.
Well, thank you for that, and Mr. Lopez, congratulations on your retirement. If you'll wait right there, I have a plaque to bring down to you, and I'd love to shake your hand and congratulate you. While I do that, commissioners, any comments or well wishes that you have, please go ahead.
Toby, I'll just mention congratulations on your retirement and appreciate your service to the community. Thank you.
Mr. Lopez, enjoy your retirement, sir. Thank you for your service to the community. Well, good.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez, for all your years of service. Enjoy your retirement, and thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Mr. Lopez, the plaque reads, has your dates of employment, and it reads with the heartfelt thanks of a grateful community. And we are grateful, and we wish you all the blessings of retirement, and appreciate all you've done for the city. Thank you very much. Commissioners, next, we have a presentation of proclamation proclaiming April 18th through 24th, 2021 as National Volunteer Appreciation Week. And we have a guest with us this evening, Ms. Suzanne Zamora, to share with us about National Volunteer Appreciation Week.
Okay, I don't have the proclamation in front of me. I'm anticipating that you're going to read it.
I am.
thank
Yes. Please share whatever you would like about this, and then I will read the proclamation.
Okay. Well, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I would like to thank you on behalf of the over 100 Curry County retired and senior volunteers and foster grandparents in our programs. Although the past year has been challenging with many of our 11 volunteer stations closing due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have continued to serve the community. Volunteers are still out there preparing tax returns, delivering meals, running errands, making calls, and providing emotional support. And we would like to invite all of you to drop by the Commission Chambers at the Curry County Administrative Complex on Wednesday, April the 21st from 8 to 4. It's a drop by, and just say hello to some of our volunteers who will be there. So thank you again.
Yes, well, thank you for sharing that with us, and we look forward to possibly dropping by and hearing how your event goes. Thank you for sharing that with us this evening, and I would like to read the proclamation. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of American character and central to how Americans meet our challenges in communities throughout our nation. And whereas the nation's elected leaders are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet their community needs. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants address the most pressing challenges facing our communities. They educate students for 21st century jobs, assist in the fight against the opioid epidemic, respond to natural disasters, support veterans and military families, and many more community needs. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career, skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our community, economic, and social well-being. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve, both through their direct service and by managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to serve in a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. And whereas AmeriCorps Seniors shares a priority with local leaders nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities. And whereas Curry County will recognize our retired and senior volunteers and foster grandparents during National Volunteer Appreciation Week, April 18th through 24th, 2021, by hosting a drop-by reception on Wednesday, April 21st, 2021. Now therefore, I, Mike Morris, Mayor of the City of Clovis, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim April 18th through 24th, 2021 as National Volunteer Appreciation Week in the City of Clovis, and encourage citizens to recognize the positive impact of national service in our community, to thank those who serve, and to find ways to give back to their communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everything you do. Commissioners, item 3 is presentation of proclamation proclaiming Thursday, May 6th, 2021 as National Day of Prayer in the city of Clovis. And to share with us about that this evening is Dr. Yancey, as well as Bonetta Hudson. And we'd love it if you'd come up and share with us about that. Welcome, Ms. Hudson. Welcome, Dr. Yancey.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here. Haven't been here in a while. It's good to be here.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, our commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. The National Day of Prayer is an annual observance held on the first Thursday of May, inviting people of all faiths to pray for our nation. It is a vital part of our heritage. Since the first call to prayer in 1775, when the Continental Congress asked the colonies to pray for wisdom in forming a nation, the call to prayer has continued throughout our history. The National Day of Prayer belongs to all Americans. It is a day that transcends differences, bringing together citizens from all backgrounds. Mrs. Shirley Dobson reminds us, we have lost many of our freedoms in America because we have been asleep. I feel if we do not become involved and support the annual National Day of Prayer, we could end up forfeiting this freedom as well. There have been 146 national calls to prayer from 1789 to 2017. There have been 69 presidential proclamations for a National Day of Prayer. President Ford, President Bush, President Obama, and President Trump are the only U.S. presidents to have signed multiple National Day of Prayer proclamations in the same year. This past year has been a difficult year for many of us in the isolation, in the not being able to gather for months in our churches. With us moving into the turquoise, to have the opportunity to meet again, united, to pray for Curry County, to pray for our government, to pray for everyone, not just in Clovis, but in New Mexico and for our nation. It is an honor and a privilege that we don't take lightly, and we're very honored to be able to have this once again in front of the courthouse on May 6th.
Thank you for sharing that. We are blessed and honored to be able to do the proclamation and look forward to May 6th. Dr. Yancey, did you want to share anything?
No, you want to wait, you want to do the proclamation today and then?
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to do that, of course. But I will be there on May 6th. I'd be glad to be at the event.
All of the commissioners can be there on May 6th. Please.
I think they will be. I guess. Let me share the proclamation with everyone. Whereas throughout our nation's history, Americans have come together in moments of great challenge and uncertainty to humble themselves in prayer. In 1775, as the Continental Congress began the task of forging a new nation, colonists were asked to observe a day of quiet humiliation and prayer. Almost a century later, as the flames of the Civil War burned from north to south, President Lincoln and the Congress once again asked the American people to pray as the fate of their nation hung in the balance. And whereas it is in that spirit of unity and reflection that we once again designate the first Thursday in May as the National Day of Prayer. Let us remember those who came before us, and let us each give thanks for the courage and compassion shown by so many in this country and around the world. And whereas on this day of unity and prayer, let us also honor the service and sacrifice of the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. We celebrate their commitment to uphold our highest ideals, and we recognize that it is because of them we continue to live in a nation where people of all faiths can worship. And whereas, let us also use this day to come together in a moment of peace and goodwill, where our beliefs can bring us together in love, to feed the hungry and comfort the afflicted, to make peace where there is strife, and to lift up those who have fallen on hard times. As we observe this day of prayer, we remember the one law that binds all great people together. It is to love one another, to understand one another, and to treat with dignity and respect those with whom we share a brief moment on this earth. And whereas the Congress, by Public Law 100-307 as amended, has called on the President to issue each year a proclamation designating the first Thursday in May as a National Day of Prayer. Now therefore, I, Mike Morris, Mayor of the City of Clovis, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim May 6th, 2021 as National Day of Prayer, and call upon every citizen of Clovis to pray in thanksgiving for our freedoms and blessings, and to ask for God's continued guidance and grace and protection for our city, state, and country that we love.
Mayor,
Commissioners, yes.
you know, that is such an important time in our community to go to the National Day of Prayer. You know, 2 Chronicles 7:14 tells us to repent and seek God's face and pray, and He will heal our land. And prayer would be something, the shape that things are in our world, not only here, but everywhere else. So important, and thank you, Dr. Yancey, and it's great to see that happen, and it's everyone should try to attend, and it's bow your head and pray that God will heal this land. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Commissioner. Appreciate that very much. Next, we have a presentation of proclamation proclaiming April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day in the city of Clovis. And Ms. Burrows is going to advise regarding this.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. As you know, the City of Clovis is a Tree City USA, and part of that process is that we each year recognize Arbor Day. Arbor Day this year is on April the 30th, and I've been working with Parks and Recreation on a tree planting activity at Green Acres at 11 o'clock. I'd like to invite yourselves and the public to join us for that. This year, the Realtors Association have generously donated funds to buy some trees to plant there. If anybody else in the public would like to participate in that, then please feel free to contact us at administration. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burrows. Appreciate that very much. Commissioners, mark your calendars for April 30th at 11 a.m. for the tree planting at Green Acres. And I'd like to share the proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen and habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving up paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood projects. And whereas trees in our community increase property values enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas at 11 a.m. on Friday, April 30th, Parks and Recreation will plant a tree at the northwest corner of Green Acres Park. Now therefore, I, Mike Morris, Mayor of the City of Clovis, and on behalf of the City Commission, declare April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day in the City of Clovis, and urge all citizens, businesses, students, teachers, and parents to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all of our community to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. All right. Commissioners, that concludes the presentations and proclamations for this evening, and we'll move on to receipts of petitions and communications. And I know that we have a couple of items planned there this evening. One is a presentation by a young lady from Clovis High School. And and I see Mr. Brady is here as well. Welcome. And it's Miss Julia Avila de la Torre, right?
Yes.
Well, we're sure glad you're here.
Yes.
Welcome.
Glad to
And we
be
would,
here. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor and Commissioners. I just want to say a huge thank you on behalf of all of Clovis High School. Without any of your help, we couldn't have had our prom night, and thanks to all of you, we will be able to make some great memories. And I just want to give a quick thank you to Clovis Police Department as well for helping us put together our homecoming parade. That was a big deal for us all. We really enjoyed it. The city enjoyed it. The school enjoyed it. And we just want to say thank you for that. So just
well,
thank
you're
you.
sure
Have a great
welcome.
evening.
We enjoyed the reverse homecoming parade down on Main Street. My wife and I actually went and had a great time. So thank you for doing that. And
Thank you all.
and we are so excited and happy to hear that you're getting to have a prom.
Thank you so
Very,
much.
very happy for you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Brady.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, one thing to mention is that they will be hosting the prom outside this year. They're on campus at the high school. And obviously, with a prom, there's going to be music. And so they're not required to have a noise variance because it's a school-related activity. But just wanted to make you aware, as well as make the public aware that there will be some noise on the evening of the prom in that area. So thank you, Mayor.
Very good, very
Is it
good.
in the parking lot?
They're going to do it in the, if you would like to come and talk about it, I know
And
all
when
about
is
it, but
it?
why should I speak about it on behalf?
Mr. Brady, when is it and where is it?
May 1, it'll be from 8 to 12 that evening. We'll be hosting it in the Commons area. We have a tent that we've rented. It's actually 3 tents. We'll have about 100 by 40 tent. We'll also be using some of the grassed out area with trees for seating. We'll be lighting that. We're going to make it a really memorable event for our kids who have been absent from so many opportunities. So really excited about that. And of course, I'm going to go on record by saying we will adhere to all COVID-safe practices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I do want to say once again, on behalf of Clovis High School, Doug Ford and the police force that were there for the reverse parade, I cannot thank them enough. Justin didn't take any credit, but I'm going to tell you something. He's been hand in hand since his wife's one of our high school teachers, and we've been utilizing his services, so we do appreciate that. But they've been fantastic, and we're really excited because of an in-person graduation for our seniors this year. The 23rd of May at 2 o'clock at Leon Williams Stadium is the plan right now, so I'll go on record and let you guys know that as well.
Very good.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing
Thank
that
you,
with
sir.
us. Thank you, Mr. Brady. Very exciting. I'm so glad that the high school is getting to have those events. Okay, also planned under receipts of petitions and communications, we have Mr. John Ryan joining us by video conference. There he is. Good to see you, Mr. Ryan.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you as
This-
well, Mr. Mayor.
And John Ryan is he's the city lobbyist, and he's gonna give us a legislative update this evening. Thank you for your time, thank you for joining us, and we'll give you the floor.
I appreciate it very much. It'll be real casual. You know, you've read a lot about what the legislature did, and there's been probably a fair amount of discussion amongst yourselves, amongst your legislative delegation, who worked really hard for the city and the city of Clovis area to make things better. And, you know, it was a virtual session, which was extremely unusual, in which, you know, I think you participated, Mayor, in a number of events, as did I, and we all did it over the computer and didn't get anybody sick. And as it turned out, the legislative session, I think, was a success in the sense that we didn't hear a lot of instances of people getting COVID, and I think that was well done. And bills did move through, some bills that have been around for a long time that finally made it through all the way and were signed into law by the governor. Early childhood is one of those whereby early education will be funded through the permanent fund for the first time, I guess in about 20 years, maybe even a little longer. You had very large controversial bills like legalization of cannabis, which took a special session to get that bill through, but it did get through and will take effect in a year or so. It's a redistricting year, so the governor will have to call the legislature back to deal with redistricting. There was a redistricting bill that created independent commission to identify district lines for House and Senate members that represent the city of Clovis and the Clovis area. That will do it for kind of the big bills. The budget was supplemented substantially by the federal government, and that bode well for not only the state but municipalities around the state. I'd be happy to go into more detail on some of that, but I wanted to talk a little bit about a bill that, Mayor, you were very involved with, and you championed, actually, and talk a little bit about what that bill did and how you did it, and what a really monumental thing that is. It was your LEDA bill that created an opportunity for the city of Clovis and other municipalities around the state to utilize their LEDA funds for retail recruitment, retail improvements. And you recognized an issue there in Clovis that a lot of other municipalities around the state had, figured out a solution, carried it to the municipal league, in which not only did the municipal league endorse it, they expanded it. They expanded it to include a whole bunch of different communities around the state, allowing them to use local dollars created by your local communities, and utilize that for retail, which happens to be a part of the economy that was really hurting and has been hurting under the COVID pandemic issues, as we all know, and you've created an opportunity for municipalities to help those businesses, and I want to personally thank you. I think it's a huge effort, and there were some ups and downs in this road through the legislature, as there always is. You had some great sponsors. Your sponsors were local sponsors. They were not, committee chairs or leadership in a sense that would have made things, a little different. But Senator Wood sponsored it. Representative Crowder co-sponsored it, and we got a lot of votes from senators and House members, and went through, all the committee process, and I think there was a point where we thought the bills weren't going to make it, and there was a lot of infighting amongst the different parties, Republicans and Democrats, jockeying a little bit. so true enough, and with patience and some good education to the members about the bill, we were fortunate that it not only got through the Senate and the House without a lot of opposition, but it also got signed by the governor, and you now will have that opportunity in Clovis to recruit retail business, to help your existing retail businesses, and utilize your legal funds to do it. I just think that was fantastic. You deserve a whole bunch of credit, and I wish, you know, the commissioners knew how hard you worked, and how hard the staff worked, Justin and Claire, and the guidance that they gave you, and that worked out really well. So I could actually stop there, pause a little bit. You know, I do watch what's happening on the federal government level for the city, and you know, they haven't returned back to normal. But I thought I'd kind of couple the state update with a little bit of a federal update, and just talk to some extent about what else the city of Clovis is interested in with regard to what's happening on the federal government level. I'll start with a little bit of our delegation and how things are developing in Washington. As the new Congress was established earlier this year, we elected a new United States Senator. We elected a new representative from the 3rd Congressional District that represents the city of Clovis. And those two changes were very large. After the election, we have now U.S. Senator Ben Ray Lujan, and he's hit the ground running. He joined the Senate Commerce Committee. He's also on the budget, the Health and Educational Labor Committee, the Ag Committee, Indian Affairs Committee, and Budget Committee. Our senior senator, U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich, changed committees a little bit. He's still on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, but he got a position on the highly coveted Appropriations Committee, and actually was appointed chairman of the Military Construction Subcommittee on Appropriations, which funds all the military operations around the country. A very good position for Cannon Air Force Base and the other bases in New Mexico. So that has taken place. Representative Teresa Ledger Fernandez was appointed to several committees, including Education and Labor, the Natural Resources Committee, and she too will be hitting the ground running as a freshman. The Congresswoman from the Albuquerque area is now the Secretary of Interior, Deb Haaland. With that came a few other New Mexicans that were appointed into key positions within the Department of Interior, including Tanya Trujillo. I know Justin Howalt knows her, as do I. She was on the Interstate Stream Commission. She worked for Senator Bingaman, and she's very well aware of Eastern New Mexico's issues with water and what's happening with the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. I mention that because I was asked earlier today by Claire whether or not we would resume our meetings to Washington, D.C. that we were taking prior to the pandemic, whereby city officials would go to Washington, meet with a congressional delegation, meet with specific agencies within the federal government in areas that the city cared a lot about. So Department of Transportation, Department of Interior, and so forth were some of the agencies to be met with, and obviously the delegation to inform them of your priorities, like you do with your legislative representatives, and do that in Washington. And so Washington isn't back to normal. A lot of the offices are still being conducted virtually. A lot of the staff are not entering the building, and when when that changes, I think it would be appropriate to reconsider whether or not you, mayor, and some of the commissioners want to take a trip to Washington and provide them with your priorities. There will be some really big bills coming up in addition to the regular appropriation process. And there's been some changes on that front with earmarks coming back. There's also the opportunity for an infrastructure bill that will include a lot of money for roads, water projects, and the like that may be of interest to the Clovis area. So I'm going to stop there, Mayor, and let you describe a little bit of your first experience before the legislature carrying a really important bill that the Municipal League endorsed and a lot of the economic development groups around the state endorsed, and how you felt like the process worked for you.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate the update and the opportunity to talk about Senate Bill 49. And you're very generous in giving me a whole lot of credit for something that a team of people did, and I was privileged to get to work with that team and get a bill passed and signed. And so, you know, the experience was really incredible, really incredible. And it gave me the opportunity to network around the state as I talked to other mayors and other communities that saw the need and agreed with me and with us that the amendment to the state statute was necessary, and you know, it was with their help and the help of chambers and economic development organizations around the state, and you know, obviously a great job by Representative Crowder and Senator Woods, as well as the co-sponsors for that bill in both chambers, getting it done. You know, the experience. You know, I've not testified before a committee during a legislative session before, so you know, everyone talks about that it was maybe odd or better or worse doing it virtually. Well, that's the only way I've ever done it, and we got the bill passed, so that was all right. But no one gets anything done by themselves. That is for sure. And we had to have help from a lot of people. But commissioners, you were supportive of this all the way through. I have to mention, in case it's been missed by anyone, Justin Howalt and Claire Barrows were solid. And actually, when the first draft of what we presented to the New Mexico Municipal League, they drafted. And so, you know, their support of me through this whole process, which as we got into the summer and certainly into the fall, then John, you know, was helping and working on it constantly. There were folks from the city of Rio Rancho, folks from New Mexico IDEA. There was a group of about five or so folks that I can't tell you how many Zoom meetings we had early in the morning or late at night or on Saturdays or whatever. As we were working on that language, we would get input from other people, suggestions from other people, and we continued to work on it using the input from other communities, and then we were able to by making calls and getting support, we were able to get that bill drafted and in front of an interim committee, and it got that interim committee endorsement in early November, and it was like, oh my gosh, you know, what we've been working on all this time now has turned into a bill that's actually going to be in front of the legislature, and then of course Senator Woods and Representative Crowder and others offered to sponsor it and carry it. So just a tremendous experience, a case study in civics. So it was a great experience, but ultimately it's incredible. We saw a need, and we were able to legislatively get the law changed, create a situation where we now have the opportunity to ask the citizens of Clovis to say, yes, commission, and City of Clovis, you can change the local ordinance to agree with the state law as amended, and then we will be able to create incentive packages for existing retailers that want to expand and create new jobs, but we'll also be able to create incentive packages, and these are going to be modest, but we'll be able to create incentive packages to recruit retail and fill the gaps and holes in our local economy and stop the hemorrhaging of dollars to the tune of $460 million annually from our trade area. This is going to help us keep more money at home. It's going to address quality of life, improve quality of life issues. It's just a great win, and I'm so proud of the team that got that done, because we'll always be able to say that this bill was born in Clovis. You know, Rio Rancho is going to use this. Hobbs is going to use this. Farmington is going to use this. But the bill was born in Clovis, and we'll always be very, very proud of that. So thank you to everyone on the team. And John, thanks for creating the opportunity to talk about the experience this evening. You updated us on a lot of other things as well. Commissioners, do you have questions for Mr. John Ryan? Do you have questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'd just like to mention that John did mention the possibility and potential for bringing back earmarks. And actually, Congresswoman Teresa Fernandez-Ledger did open up and asked for requests of any projects that we may have. And so we submitted for the Martin Luther King project. So that was due yesterday on the 14th. So we have put that request in. Where it goes from here, I do not know, but just wanted to let you know that we have put in that request for an individual consideration to fund that roadway project. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Howalt. Any other questions or comments? John, you did so good. You're getting thumbs up from commissioners, and we appreciate you taking time out and joining us this evening. Thank you for all you do for the city and for our community at the state as well as federal level.
Well, I apologize for not being there. I was a little worried about the weather, and I can't wait to get back and visit with you personally and see you face to face and talk to the staff and do some more good work. So thank you again.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it. Commissioners, we are at the consent agenda. Actually, before we move on, we're still in the public comment, receipts of petitions and communications. Was there anyone that wanted to share something or bring something before the commission this evening? As I look out there, I think everyone here is for a future agenda item or a agenda item that we will reach later. So let's move on to the consent agenda. As you know, this item is placed on the agenda so that the commission by unanimous consent can designate those routine agenda items that they wish to be approved or acknowledged by one motion if any proposal does not meet with the approval of all commission members, or if a citizen so requests. That item will be heard when reached under the regular agenda. Commissioners, just 5 items on the consent this evening. The first is the motion to place. The 5th is the motion to approve or acknowledge. I'll read items 2, 3, and 4. 2 is request for approval to apply for and accept 2021 Emergency Management Performance Grant funds if awarded. Item 3 is request for approval of Parks and Recreation budget change in the amount of $7,378 to cover taxes on parking lot repairs on AYSO parking lot, AYSO West lot, and Dickinson parking lot. Item 4 is request for approval of amendment to Memorandum of Agreement MO 1699 between the New Mexico Department of Transportation and the City of Clovis. Commissioners, unless you have comments or concerns about the items on consent, I would entertain a motion to place the indicated items on the consent agenda by unanimous vote.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Casals. The second came from Commissioner Garza. Thank you. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried, and the items are placed on the consent agenda. I would now entertain a motion to approve or acknowledge all items on the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Garza,
Second.
second from Commissioner Lovett. Commissioners, please vote. Vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. Next is introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. One item there this evening, and it is request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3058-2021, acceptance and approval of the FY20 audit. And our finance director, Ms. Leanne Melanson, is going to advise on this item before we have discussion.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. This is our annual resolution required by the New Mexico State Audit Rule. Requires all government agencies that contract with an independent auditor to perform the required annual audit. Integrity Accounting, Eric Robinson, who is with us virtually this evening, is in the second year performing these duties. And the rule provides that once the audit is officially released and a required waiting period of 5 days has been passed, the auditor will present the report to the quorum of the governing body. And it was released in March. We have met the 5-day calendar waiting period. And again, as I stated, Mr. Robinson is here to present the audit report and the findings to the commission. I have given you all a copy of the audit report, and I also have the resolution for you to sign once everything is done and should you approve it. So I will turn it over to Mr. Robinson.
Thanks, Ms. Melanson. Mr. Robinson, welcome. Thank you for joining our meeting this evening. We will give you the floor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. I will keep this pretty short and sweet. This is the final step, as Leanne mentioned, this is the final step in the 2020 audit process. It is required that we present the audit to the full board. So to quickly kind of go through the audit itself, you should have a copy in front of you in your packet. To start, it is an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. What that means is that we were able to obtain sufficient audit evidence to justify and support the numbers that management gave us to start with. That's ultimately all an audit is we are out verifying and validating the information that the clients provide. So that is what you typically have. You're really looking for an unmodified opinion. A modified opinion or a qualified disclaimer, etc., would indicate that there's some significant issues going on that we can't necessarily opine on the full financial statements. We're having to throttle that back. None of that exists for you guys. My past experience with Leanne is that she very much knows what she's doing. So I would have been very shocked if we had had any other result. But nonetheless, it was an unmodified opinion, so good job on that. In terms of the audit itself, just to kind of give you an overview, operationally, everything seemed to be functioning as well as it could, given the COVID environment that we're operating in. We had to get a little creative in some of the field work just because of the restrictions we were trying to operate within the bounds of. But we were able to get in, get what we needed, get done. That's all we could ever ask for. From a control standpoint, it appeared that your internal controls were in place as much as could be expected, again, with the environment that we were operating in. I didn't see anything that, as an auditor, gave me significant pause of, oh my goodness, we've got an issue going on. You're very much, Leanne and her staff were cognizant of what needed to be maintained as far as controls and processes. So it went well. That stuff seemed to be in place for 2020, and I would assume it's still in place for 2021. From an accounting process standpoint, everything was largely the same as what we had seen in prior years, aside from the shift you guys were making from one accounting platform to another. That we were still kind of learning that process, Leanne and her crew were, and getting used to it and what it could and couldn't do, what reporting you can and can't do. But it was working. You know, I had no issues in terms of performing the audit. It was very good. We got everything we asked for again. We got everything we asked for in a timely manner. No disagreements or issues that were brought to my attention. Nobody yelled at me, which is always a positive in an audit. You know, we got everything done. If there was anything, it wasn't communicated to me, so I'm assuming we were okay on that end. as far as the findings go, the good stuff that really piques everyone's interest, if you jump way to the back of the report at page 105, that kind of starts the findings section. We only have one finding this year. We were able to resolve the financial close material adjustment findings. It had been sticky, it had been lingering on for many, many years. Leanne has gradually, year by year, been taking more and more of a lead role in getting her accruals and moving her books from a cash basis to a full accrual reporting platform. And she was finally able to get over the hump for all of that stuff this year. So we were very happy to be able to take that one away. Unfortunately, we did have one material finding this year. It was the cash allocations into the funds. What that really came from was there was a shift in how in the old accounting software you paid bills and it was allocated to the funds, as opposed to the new accounting platform, how it pays bills and was allocated to the funds. What ended up happening in a nutshell is her pooled cash was being balanced globally and it tied out just like it should. But when we took that pooled cash and looked at it across all of the funds, there were some discrepancies there that the funds weren't reporting the correct balances, cash balances within each fund. So we did have that as a finding. It was material due to the size of the dollar amount we were talking about. It ended up being about $400,000 too much in the funds. So we made some adjustments throughout the course of the audit to pull that out and get those correctly stated. My understanding from Leanne at this point is that has all been rectified. The cash balances are tying out to the funds, to the DFA reporting. Everything's smooth and clean there, like it should be. Obviously, that will be revisited in next year's audit just to verify and make sure that that's the case. Otherwise, we didn't really have any other findings. I have nothing that I can complain about or say otherwise. I think it was a good audit. We look to get in, again, get what we need to get and get out of everybody's hair. And we were able to do that. That allows us to function efficiently and smoothly and get audits turned around quickly. So I would commend Leanne for that. She manages the audits well. If there's any questions or comments, I will sort of stand for those as I'm sitting here.
And we'll try and keep your record of not being yelled at. How about that? Well,
Gonna happen one day. Hopefully not soon, but you never know.
Well, Commissioners, you're looking at the report here, 109 pages. There was mention of the one finding, but it sounds like that was due to the change in software. Do you have any questions or comments?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Casals.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Garza. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous, and the motion is carried. Thank you, Ms. Melanson, for that, and thank you, Mr. Robinson, for joining us this evening and sharing with us about this item. And you're still clean, you haven't been yelled at, so, yeah. Appreciate you.
No problem.
All right. We have nothing to deal with in unfinished business, so we're on to new business, Commissioners. 4 items there this evening. The first is request for approval of appointment of 1 citizen member from District 1 and 1 citizen member from District 2 to serve on the Economic Incentive Board. And to advise on this before we have discussion or hear from the applicants, Ms. Burrows.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. The terms of Ms. Gail Tarson, who serves in District 2, and Ms. Latrice Brooks, who serves in District 1 on the Economic Incentive Board, have expired. Those positions have been advertised. Both Ms. Brooks and Ms. Tarson have reapplied to serve. And then for District 1, Mr. George Jones has also applied to serve. And then for District 2, Mr. Steve North and Mr. Jamal Williams have also applied to serve. The information is in your commission packets this evening. Ms. Latrice Brooks sends her apologies. She was not able to be here this evening, and I do not believe that Ms. Tarson is either. Oh, is she here? She's
Actually,
come-
she
oh,
has-
sorry. Oh, there
she
you
has
are.
arrived. Yep.
Yeah, lovely. Right. Yes, we're past 6 o'clock now. So yes, so we have the various individuals who would like to serve are here with you this evening, except Ms. Brooks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate that. So commissioners, you have the applications from these folks in your packet. You've had a chance to look at them. I assume we will just take care of both District 1 and District 2 at the same time on the write-in ballots. And so let's just go in order of the folks listed there. As was mentioned, Mrs. Brooks sends her regrets, couldn't be here this evening, but she had expressed her interest in continuing to serve in the District 1 position. But also here this evening and applying is Mr. George Jones. Mr. Jones, if you'd like to come forward and share with us, please. And for all of the applicants, including you, Mr. Jones, you're going to hear us say thank you a lot, but we mean it. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you for applying. The fact that you're willing, and all of you, the fact that you're willing to serve and you've applied and you're here tonight to talk to us. If you're not chosen, we still need you to serve somewhere. So keep looking for those places to serve. With that, again, thank you for your willingness. And Mr. Jones, we'll give you the floor.
Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, thank you very much for having me this evening. My family and I moved here in 2004 with the military, and we elected to stay in the local area after we retired. My wife and I both retired in 2013, and we opted to stay around in the local area. So we continue to find ways to try to give back to the community and make it better. And economic development is key to our success in this city, and I think I'd be a valued member to the Economic Incentive Board. And I'll stand for questions.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love hearing the stories about people that moved here with the military, retired, and chose to stay here. So thanks for sharing that. Questions for Mr. Jones?
All right, thank you.
You did such a good job. There's no questions. Thank you, George. Appreciate you. All right, so it's Mrs. Brooks and Mr. Jones for the District 1 position. So we'll move on to the candidates or the applicants for the District 2 spot. And first there is Mr. Steve North. And we thank you as well for your willingness.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I know that your time is valuable, and so I will keep this to probably just about 45 minutes, if that works for you. No, I will keep it very brief. I'll try to be even more brief than Mr. Jones there, but similar story. I got here in '95 with the United States Air Force and met my wife shortly after that and decided to stay here. Her family's from here in this area for generations, the Lyons family, Brandy Lyons. And we love it here. We decided to raise our family here, and we're excited to be a part of the community, and I want to give back to the community that's given so much to me. While reading the description of the Economic Incentive Board and what it does and what its functions are, I noticed a very common word being used, and it was coordinate. Coordinate with different agencies, coordinate with business owners, coordinate with agencies and government entities. And I believe that is, to go back to what Mayor Morris said earlier, it's a team effort, it's a collaborative effort. That's how you got that legislation passed. It was that team effort to help our community. Currently, I work at the District Attorney's Office as the CFO and the Human Resources Manager. And in that capacity, I definitely have to have that collaborative attitude. I have to go to different agencies within our community to work towards a common goal. And so I believe getting on this board, and I can bring those collaborative attitude, that new perspective, those fresh ideas, which I believe are so important to this particular board and any board or any issue that we decide to tackle. Now, as you guys are all aware, as commissioners and mayor, Economic growth and economic incentives and economic development is a complex issue. It's a complex issue. It's not just one simple answer to any of it. It's a complex deal. And it takes that collaborative effort to tackle that issue and to go towards resolution to bring economic development to our community, which again, to echo Mr. Morris, is so important for quality of life issues. It's important for our residents, for our families, for our kids. And back to my wife and I bringing our kids here and raising them here, we want to give back, and we want to see that, we want to make sure that we leave that legacy for our kids, and not just our kids, but the generations past that. We want to make sure that we are involved and that we're bringing that growth and that we're bringing that quality of life, not just for our family, but for all the families that decide to raise their kids here. And so, again, I would just thank you for your consideration for me on this board, and I would sincerely have a vested interest in this, and for that I will stand for questions. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mr. North. Do we have questions for Mr. North? You did such a good job. There's no
Fantastic.
questions.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you for your willingness. Ms. Gail Tarson, you're next in alphabetical order. We'd love to hear from you.
So I'm Gail Tarson. I'm a small business owner of Diamonds Evermore. So I did prepare and planned and thought things out, but I know how I am, and I typically go way off script. Most of you know me. Most of you have had an opportunity to work with me in some capacity, so I think you already kind of know what you're getting, but I do want to share a couple of things. And one of the things I want to mention is I know that each of you volunteer in these positions and in the community, and I know that you make it look easy, but I also recognize the sacrifices each of you make in your personal life as well as in the community, so thank you. I appreciate that. And so tonight, you guys know, I'm asking for you to vote for me. And I don't mean to hog my time on the EIE board, but it does seem like sometimes we get on a board, we get involved, and by the time we're really getting it and feel like we're contributing effectively, then we're off and on to the next thing. So the main reason I'd like to serve at least one more time on the board is so I can take everything that I've learned, everything that I've gained from my fellow board members, and continue to offer and bring it back to the, again, I went completely off script and I wrote it so nice. But where this comes from, first of all, you've got some great candidates here. I don't think you guys will fail the city picking any one of them. I know each one of them, they're great folks. So I know you're going to be in good shape either way. But my desire to serve comes from a deep sense of responsibility and commitment to our community and to my fellow citizens. And I think most of you also know I moved here. I chose to move here. Nothing brought me here other than visiting my son. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the community. And when I came, decided I needed to figure out what I was going to do. So I decided to follow my passion, my dream, and open a business in Clovis. And I did it from the ground up. I had nothing going for me. I knew nobody in town but my son. But what I did have is that deep desire to engage and a desperate love of succeeding. And so I take that, and I've worked for the past 10 years in building my business. But I also bring that same intent, that same strength and passion to any commission I serve on. And whether it's this one that you choose to let me serve one more time, I will serve in other ways, in whatever way you guys see fit. So with that, I, again, thank you and appreciate your consideration. And I'm also going to stand for a question, unless I did a fabulous job.
I think you did a fabulous job. There may be some questions. We sure appreciate your willingness to serve or to continue serving on the EIB. Commissioners, any questions? Yep.
Thank you.
You did
Appreciate
great.
you guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you for your willingness. And last but not least, Mr. Jamal Williams is also applying for the District 2 spot on Economic Incentive Board. Mr. Williams, it's great to see you. We'll give you the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. My name is Jamal Williams, and I'll literally be short and sweet. not like everyone else said. But no, I asked for your consideration on the EIB board. I was born and raised here in Clovis. That's one. And I actually left, joined the military, and came back. I was recruited by Southwest Cheese from Amarillo, and so I believe I'm a economic incentive. Is coming back around. So, like I said, I'd like for your consideration. I brought my family back here. I was born and raised here. And I would, I would like to just promote economic opportunities. We have new opportunities with the LIDA. We have a lot of opportunities, and I grew up here, and everyone is always, I always have to defend Clovis, but I love it here, and I always try to get people to come back, and we have opportunities, and we have a lot of things going. So I ask for your consideration. I'm a district, just a regular citizen of District 2. And, I want to be able to keep my family here and, grow up here. And I have people recruiting them to leave, so I need your help. But, and all jokes aside, but, I just ask for just your consideration, and I'll stand for any questions.
Well, we appreciate your willingness to serve on Economic Incentive Board. We know that you serve on other committees, or at least one other that I can think of right off, Parks and Recreation. Appreciate your willingness to serve here. Great job. May or may not have questions for you, commissioners. Williams, thank you. Appreciate you, sir. Commissioners, unless you have anything else that you'd like to bring up, let's cast the votes. Again, applicants, thank you for your willingness to serve here. I think all of you serve on other committees and help the city out a great deal. I've found out that it's a fact that we function better as a commission, and the organization functions better when citizens are involved in providing input and lending of their time and talent. So thank you for your willingness to do that. And again, as the only two of you can be chosen, please continue to look for places to lend your time and talent, and we appreciate it very much.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, Mr. Jones has been selected to serve as District 1 representative on the EIB, and Ms. Tarson has been selected to serve for District 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burrows. Congratulations, Mr. Jones, and congratulations, Ms. Tarson, and Mr. North, Mr. Williams, thank you very much for your willingness, and appreciate y'all. All right. Outstanding selections for EIB. Next, under new business, item 2 is request for approval of City of Clovis Friendship Center Recreational Area Guidelines for Reopening. And our Senior Services Director, Barbara Riggin, is here. Ms. Riggin, great to see you. We'll give you the floor.
Hello. Like Gail, I always try to stay on task. I even have notes, but I get off track. This past week, the New Mexico Aging and Long-Term Services Department released reopening guidelines for the senior centers across New Mexico. These guidelines stated that it is essential that service providers follow the New Mexico Department of Health, county by county, from red to green to turquoise, framework to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Excuse me. These guidelines include specific restrictions on congregate meal services, adult daycare, transportation services, and in-home services. The City of Clovis Senior Services has worked continuously to develop a plan to reopen in a safe manner. We actually started thinking about a plan back in October, November, and so we've been working on it since then. Based on the following plan, Senior Services request from Council to reopen to the public at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And so I'm going to start giving you some of the guidelines that we are going to be following. The hours of operation for the Friendship Senior Recreation Area will be from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. We will close the Recreation Center from 10 to 1 to allow staff to assist with the Curry Resident Senior Meals Association program. And then we will reopen from 1 to 4 for public access, Monday through Friday. All staff, including volunteers and participants of services, must be screened daily, including temperature checks and a review of COVID-19 symptoms. You've heard us talk about the My Senior Center. I reached out to the My Senior Center, and they actually had a program built into the system where a senior can scan their little My Senior Center card, and it comes up with COVID screening questions, and it'll ask everything from symptoms to if they've been exposed, if they're running a temperature. As soon as this, and then at that time we can check their temperature and make sure that they're not running a fever, and then proceed from there. The maximum capacity restrictions will apply. Activities will be available on a walk-in basis. However, patrons that are attending for special events will take precedence, which will require a reservation. For instance, tomorrow is a tea time. We've been having tea time out on the patio at 2 o'clock. Been lots of fun. Ladies and gentlemen love it. So those seniors would actually be scheduled by reservation to be able to come in to the center between those times. Under the current social distancing guidelines, we're gonna keep it at no more than 30 patrons to be allowed in the Friendship Senior Center area. And IT's gonna help me out with some pictures. So this first picture is a 20 seats located in the recreation area. These seats can be utilized for socializing, games, and other activities such as tea time. And the next picture, this is our billiards area, and we're only going to allow 6 players in this area at one time. We will have the snooker table. There are currently 3 pool tables, so if we don't have anybody playing snooker and we have others who want to play pool on the different tables, and then we can open those areas up. But we would prefer only 6 people be in those areas to maintain the social distancing. And this next one, this is our sewing area. We have set up 3 sewing stations and a cutting table in the center of the room. And the next one, we're kind of showing the sewing stations. And so as seniors are in there, if they're sewing and they leave, then we will make sure to clean all utensils and scissors and such. Out on the patio, we have 12 chairs. And so as seniors are socializing, if they want to sit out there and socialize, or if they're just waiting for a pool table to come open or waiting for a seat in the sewing room, then they'll be able to sit out there and wait. We're asking that parking only be available in the south parking lot. One thought behind this, we want to keep one entrance into the facility. So that we can maintain social distancing, we can keep track of contact tracing to see who's coming in the facility at all times. So we would ask that the seniors park in the south parking lot and come in through the west gate by the gazebo. And that is where that's where we would have the kiosk set up for, to scan in their cards. All staff, volunteers, and participants would follow the PPE guidelines, social distancing, hand washing, cleaning, and disinfecting. We would make sure that proper signage was displayed throughout the facility, and we would definitely follow the state's guidelines to be able to reopen. We have been closed since March, and so our seniors are getting very anxious and ready to come into the facility. Senior Services acts as a liaison between the City of Clovis and other senior centers. And if you ever need to reach out to us, I'm going to give my phone number because last time I forgot. Got out to the car and realized I did not give my phone number. So it's 575-769-7908. And we are available to any senior, no matter what center that they go to or don't go to. If they have a problem, if they need assistance with anything at all, just give us a call and we'll do our best to assist them. The Board of Directors for the Curry Resident Senior Mills Association that is located in Friendship Senior Center met today, and they will be submitting a reopening plan to the non-metro area agency on aging. I spoke with the La Casa Senior Center director, and as of yet, they have not reopened. I'm not sure what their plans are. The Baxter Curran board president did reach out, and they are also working on trying to finalize a plan to reopen. They're hoping to be able to open on limited activities on May 3rd. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Well, thank you, Ms. Reagan. It's very exciting to be talking about this. It's overdue. Great plan. Commissioners, you may have had the thought that I did. When I first saw this item on the agenda and looked into it, hold on a second. We're approving the reopening of something. We haven't been allowed to approve the reopening of anything yet with COVID, right? But the state's guidelines for reopening senior centers actually call for the commission or council in that city to approve the plan. And so that's what we're doing here. And I don't see why we wouldn't. Are there any other questions or comments?
I do have a question, Mayor. So are we being too conservative with the 30 patrons with all the different rooms that we have?
So one of the guidelines from the state is that tables have to be 10 feet apart and patrons have to be 6 feet apart. And so that is the reason why we went with 30 patrons. Our capacity is actually 120, but just to maintain social distancing and make sure that we're following all the guidelines, that's where we came up with that number.
And Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner Lovett, this doesn't include the plan for Charisma. That's a separate organization,
Exactly.
their area.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Reagan, does the 30 patrons include the patio as well, or is it just the indoor facility?
That is just indoor. We have 12 seats outside, so anybody can sit outside. And I don't know what our patio will actually hold, but we do have 12 seats out there.
So it's the first 30 to come, first come, first serve?
Yes,
That can
ma'am.
come inside?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm like Commissioner Lovett. I think that's too restrictive. If we're given that permission to approve something, we should be allowed to use our own discretion and provide more seating capacity for these people. I mean, you go into the restaurants, they're 6 feet apart in some cases, but again, you have more people in there. I don't know how we can circumvent this, but I'd like to open it up a little more for more people to come in. On the patio, do we have the ability to bring more tables out and chairs other than that?
Sure.
I would suggest we do that. I mean, it's really not a good thing to have 30 people come in and then you're going to have to tell others that they can come in because we're max to capacity, and that's not right. I think we owe it to them to be able to allow them to to socialize at this point in time, so.
We have had 20 people out on the patio, spread out, and I welcome any of you. I mean, if that is your thought and you want to look at it, come by. I mean, we can definitely look at it and see what you think.
Well, and I appreciate and intend to agree with the Commissioner's comments, but Ms. Riggin, you talked about arriving at that number thoughtfully and you know, and looking at the amount of space that you have and tables and so forth. And I mean, how do you feel about that number 30? I mean, was that ultra conservative, or was that kind of what the space allowed?
No, it is conservative. We can definitely fit a couple more tables and,
I mean, if the state wants to wash their hands and put it on us to approve something, I think we have that on us, that I think we should be able to do that. Otherwise, why you letting us approve something?
Sure.
If they're gonna be restrictive. I don't think it's a bad idea to allow more people to come in. Another question is, are we checking if some of the seniors are being, have been vaccinated? Is that a requirement or not a requirement?
no, it's not a requirement.
So if they have been vaccinated, then that's a plus, right?
Sure.
To have.
Aging Long-Term Services had a meeting today, and they actually said that we can ask seniors if they've had their vaccines, and if they haven't, we can't restrict them from coming in, but
No.
but we can ask them.
But you know who they are and
Sure.
how you can probably separate them from the others. I mean, that's a good system to have, I would think.
That's interesting. Commissioner Casals had a comment or a question.
I feel like Barbara has a good point. I think we need to start with baby steps. I don't think we should allow a lot of seniors in there. As it is, a lot of seniors are afraid to even come into the facility. With the problems that Johnson & Johnson is having with their vaccine, some of them don't even want the vaccine, as I mentioned at that meeting today. So I think starting with 30 is sufficient. Those rooms aren't that big. So I would hate to have 50, 100 people in there.
Oh, and we definitely wouldn't have
Right.
that many at all.
Now, if they want to congregate outside, I would say yes, but not in the building. I agree with Barbara. I think 30 would be sufficient.
And Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, we could accommodate some more tables and chairs outside, socially distanced, if that would help, you know, if there are more people waiting to come in or just to visit outside.
And Barbara, how many outside seats could you have available?
On the patio itself, we have actually had tables and chairs out there, so we've had 20. One thing that we run into out on the patio, for instance, today it was raining, and so we had to cancel an outside activity because of the rain. And then it's, you know, as the heat comes on, it gets a little bit warmer out there on the patio. But we could definitely put tables and chairs out there and get it at least 20 on the patio.
Well, I know the state's saying, you can only have 30 inside the facility, but are they saying anything about an outside facility, just how many you can have?
No, and the state is not the one that set the 30. We set up tables and chairs and thought that would be safe, but, and so, but.
I think, if I can jump in, I think we have our senior services director who has, familiar with the facility, familiar with the seniors that want to come in, has set up tables, has estimated 30. I think that we all would like to have more. So, why couldn't we talk about approving a number that's double that, but then let our senior services director use her discretion, perhaps leveraging that outdoor space as it's, warmer weather with the exception of today.
Well,
But
Commissioner Casals had a good point too. There's a lot of people that don't want to get out and mingle, which is okay. I understand that. But then again, you have the ones that do want to go and mingle. So are you going to be telling everyone, no, we don't, we can't bring you in because we already have the maximum here? That's my concern. I don't think we want to be doing that when these people being without socializing for this many months.
Yes,
that's-
so we stand out in the alley when Charisma's doing their grab-and-go meals, and we have lots of seniors who, I would say probably 50-50. Half of them want to come in, half of them don't want to come in. So, yes, I agree
I
with you.
think it's on you to just figure that out. But again, I'm willing to approve this as long as we increase a little bit. I mean, we're not going to go with 100 people on indoors.
No.
We don't have that. So it is something that you're going to have to keep an eye on.
Oh, definitely.
But I appreciate your hard work and taking up on this. How are we doing on staff? Are you going to be okay with staff?
I currently have 3 positions advertised. I have kind of narrowed it down to our first staff that we're going to be hiring. And so I anticipate that we'll be getting staff hired. And like Mayor said, if we keep it to 30 or 40 or, whatever we can manage.
You can control it. So
yes.
that's why I asked how many people you have to work with. And if you don't have enough personnel, it's like every other business in town, everybody's looking for help. As long as the government is giving them a paycheck, they're not going to come back to work. And that's the sad part of this. When you have the needs to take care of the elderly and we don't have the personnel, that is a sad story. I guess we can leave it up to you, whatever number you think. If it's 30 and you can manage that, and that's okay. If we can increase another 10 when you get more staff, I think that would be also a good thing to aim for. Try to bring more people in. But I would hate to tell people, no, you can come in, because that's the minimum that we can bring in.
Appreciate those comments, Commissioner Garza. Commissioner Lovett, you had something to add.
I have a follow-up, and I am very appreciative of all you've done, Mr. Riga. I mean, it's been a terrible situation, and trying to keep the seniors engaged in our community, and I do appreciate your efforts on that. What I don't want to do is approve a higher number, and then it becomes an issue to you of seniors saying, hey, well, the commission said we could do 60, and in some ways, I would rather take the heat on that and just approve the 30 today and let you come back. Although deep down in my heart, I want to double that, just like the mayor said, and do the 60, but I'm afraid of the pressure it might put on you to do that. And so with that being said, depending on further comments, I would make Mayor, did you have a comment first? I would make a motion, we just accept as is and approve with the 30, and then you can come back to us as you see patrons wanting to come and visit.
I second.
So we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Lovett, second from Commissioner Casals. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous, and the motion is carried. Ms. Reagan, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
Thank you.
being here to present this to us tonight, but also for all that you do, and we look forward to hearing about senior services activities.
Thank you, and I will take the 30.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Commissioners, as I go back to my agenda, we're at item 3 under new business. Correct?
Yes.
Item 3 under new business is request for approval to fund the implementation of Tyler Technologies Enterprise Asset Management. And our Finance Director, Ms. Leanne Melanson, is going to advise on this before we have discussion.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. We actually started with Tyler Technologies, July of 2019. We have so far implemented our payroll, our financials, and we are almost ready to finish going live with our utility billing. So Mr. Howald has challenged us to add the next one, which will be our Enterprise Asset Management. It is a system that will be used, will provide integration with all of our departments. We can track all of our assets, be able to track the life of an asset, not just the single asset, but also how it interacts with all of the other portions of the function. We can then also know when it's time to replace a vehicle, when it's time to look at replacement maintenance that needs to be done on buildings, provide better budgeting opportunities for all of our departments, and make much more sound financial decisions. So it'll allow us to just greater work with our entire infrastructure. And at the same time, we will also be integrating, we will be removing our current C-Click Fix program, which is used for citizens to notify us of potholes, trash in the alley that needs to be picked up. It will go to a citizen self-serve program, a 311, that we will also be implementing with the program that will be used by all of our departments, and with great integration with our GIS program, so that as work orders are established by either citizen request or department request, we will be able to have those mapped out so that our employees can work smarter and be able to develop a workday of work orders in a central area rather than going from the north end of town to the south end of town, wear and tear on our vehicles, time spent in their vehicles when they could actually be doing work. We hope to start this. We're in the planning session right now. We're integrating, getting analysis done. I did put on here that, my staff and all of the departments are amazing. The go-live date will actually be April of 2022, not 2021. We will start in late June, and the cost is a little over $290,000, which includes the software, training. At the moment, Tyler Technologies is still doing all of their training virtual. We have requested that about half of our training be done on-site. We do believe that it's more effective, that it's better to have those people here, seeing how we actually function as opposed to another community in another part of the country. So part of that will be on-site training. We will take half of the cost and split it between our two major enterprise funds, which will be the largest users of it, and then the balance of it will be general fund cash reserve, and all of this will be placed into our 2022 budget. And I or Mr. Howalt will be happy to answer any questions that we can.
Thank you, Ms. Melanson. Appreciate that. Perhaps you or Mr. Howalt would be able to speak to this. Obviously, $290,000 is an awful lot of money, and I wonder. It sounds like this would create some efficiencies within the organization. Are there estimates for what the savings could be when you have assets on these replacement cycles and so forth? Is there an estimate for savings?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. I have not put that pencil to paper. Intuitively, you would say, yes, there's definitely going to be savings. Y'all have heard me speak a lot about asset management and us needing to be more proactive versus reactive, even as it relates to our budget process. If we know that we're coming up to the end of the life cycle of an asset, if we know it's going to last 5 years and cost us $5,000 to replace, well, we should be smart enough to start saving today to be able to have that asset replaced at the end of that 5-year cycle. The other thing that this program and software does for us, as Ms. Melanson mentioned, is our work orders. So every time, say our shop performs a service on one of our fleet vehicles, it'll be tied to that fleet vehicle. Well, that fleet vehicle is obviously going to start depreciating as soon as we purchase it. Well, at some point in time, we're going to be investing more money into that fleet vehicle than what it's actually worth. And so it'll help us with replacement costs or replacement of our fleet. Another thing that we'll be able to do with it is from our, sticking with fleet, from our fuel system, be able to track the fuel that we're putting into a vehicle from a standpoint of, if we're putting too much fuel into a vehicle, why is that? If it's supposed to be getting a certain mileage for the fuel system and it's not getting it, there's a potential red flag there. So it'll track that for us. Your air filters, when you change those out, we can get down pretty into the weeds with the assets that we're going to be tracking. The implementation, a lot of the cost associated with that is in the training. Obviously, this is going to be a major step for our departments and spread across the 14 different departments. The number of man-hours necessary to bring the implementation team in and the training team in is significant. And so that is the major impact on the cost that's in front of you this evening.
Great, thank you, Mr. Howalt, appreciate that. Questions or comments, commissioners? Mayor Pro Tem?
Mayor?
Yes,
I know,
Commissioner Levitt?
So I know as you're talking about the implementation and things, so we have staff on hand then that will be able to continue the recurring updates to the system? Otherwise, it's not serving its purpose. So.
Absolutely, and the updates themselves obviously would be pushed out through Tyler. That's one thing that we've noticed actually with our old system that we're replacing. We don't have anything on our assets right now, but say, for example, through our finance system, is there were no longer updates, and so it became dated and old. And so Tyler Technologies actually will be the ones that do push out the updates. And as those updates come out, obviously notifying us of the differences, and then if we need to have future training, obviously we'll do that. One thing that we're really trying to emphasize and change within the organization is the amount of training that we do, whether it be on software or HR activities, et cetera. We're trying to offer our employees more opportunities to educate themselves in whatever subject it may be. So we've started on some training with like the budget software. We're going to need more training on the budget software, but make it more of a routine in nature to where as you start utilizing the software systems themselves, you may be in class for 3 days, and until you've really gotten to use the program itself, you don't know what questions to ask. And so by having those recurring training sessions, you can bring smarter questions back to those implementers. So.
Well, and I appreciate that, and again, and that's an important part of this is the updating the software and things. But I guess I was more asking about the activity tracking. Like if you're replacing an air filter, it takes time to put it onto the system. We replaced air filter on unit 51, and just knowing it's going to increase the time to our personnel. And so just making sure that they have the time to do that. And we'll be coming back to the commission with a request for more personnel just to keep up with the activity tracking.
I understand the question.
There you go.
And so actually, one thing that is neat about this is in your work orders. So your supervisors will be able to say on there, hey, this is supposed to take 2 hours to do. And then the out in the field, the employees that are performing that task, they'll have to actually record how many hours it took to perform that task. And so if the supervisor said on there, hey, it's 2 hours and it took you guys 6 hours, what's going on? And so it'll give us a better feel for how much time is spent being performed those services. Could it show, yeah, we do need more personnel? Maybe. Or maybe it's just showing that, hey, guys, we need to pick up the pace a little bit on what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. On this software system, is there going to be an increase or premiums come in later on for update of the software?
The updates are automatic. They're done continually throughout.
Okay.
So,
All right, so there's no extra cost there.
no.
All right, thank you.
Sounds like the city needs to update their systems, and it sounds like this would create a lot of efficiency within the organization. Other comments, questions?
No comments, Mayor, but, I can definitely see a savings portion of this. But what I really like about it is how efficient it is to helping us get things done and get things accomplished, and keep track of different things. So I think that's the important part of it.
And Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, and one thing that we've talked about, and actually we were just visiting with George from sanitation, and we were talking about reviewing businesses and pickups per week, et cetera. On a work order, they'll be able to have that on their tablet out in the field, and when they're completed with it, they can sign off on that work order, pull the next one up, and move on about their day. As Ms. Melanson said, as supervisors are planning their days from a geographic standpoint, they can say, hey, look, work order number 5, it's fifth in line, however, it's immediately adjacent to work order number 1. So why, instead of go 1, 2, 3, 4 before you get to 5, why not go from 1 to 5? And so hopefully it'll pick up on those efficiencies there to where we're accomplishing tasks that are geographically clustered together.
Great, thanks for that explanation. Commissioners, is there more discussion, or do we have a motion?
Question.
Yeah, question.
So every department head will be trained on this?
Not just the department heads. It's gonna be-
Everybody?
Yeah, it'll be down to the line employees that actually utilize the system itself.
So if it takes 6 months, they're not going to charge you extra?
No, they've got the hours built into here, and that's, once again, you'd see there's significant hours built in there from a quantity standpoint, and that's what that is for.
And Commissioner Casas, our go-live date is always subject to change as other things happen and other projects, but that's probably a, I think it's a realistic, as provided that, you know, other projects don't end up taking precedent. But I think we're good with our April go-live date.
Okay, I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Thank you. Motion to approve from Commissioner Casals, and the second came from down this direction.
Myself.
Commissioner Lovett had the second on that. Commissioners, please vote. I think the plexiglass, you know, it made it hard for me to hear who.
That's a pretty good excuse.
Kevin hears me well, because it just bounces off.
And it's unanimous. The vote is 7-0, and the motion is carried. Thank you for that, Ms. Melanson, Mr. Howalt, for helping us with that one. And lastly, under new business, item 4, request for approval of appointment of one City of Clovis representative to serve on the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. And before having discussion on that, Ms. Burrows, did you want to advise? Your name is there.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. Mr. David Lansford has resigned his position on the Water Utility Authority effective April the 12th. He was appointed to serve on July the 17th, 2019 for a 2-year term, and so one representative will need to be appointed by the Clovis City Commission to complete the remainder of his term, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burrows. Actually spoke with the former mayor, Mr. Lansford, last week, and he indicated that he wanted to go ahead and vacate the position and you know, create this opening that we're discussing here. And he was thoughtful in doing so. He talked about how the Water Authority has some projects going. Bids are going out for Finished Water 3. The Texaco lateral is being discussed. The 3 options for that are being discussed. The authority is about to go through the budgetary process. You know, he just indicated that having, you know, the new representative of the city there for all of that might be good, rather than delay another couple of months, 2.5 months. So, you know, that made sense. And I would say, you know, I've been attending the Water Authority meetings. Of course, Mayor Pro Tem Bryant and Commissioner Garza are the other 2 representatives of the city there. And, you know, I'm tracking all of that as closely as possible and learning as much as I can, as fast as I can, about all things water, and certainly the Ute Pipeline project, which is you know, central to us addressing our water concerns as a community. And so, you know, I am certainly all for the city continuing to keep focus on that Ute Pipeline project, and I would be happy if you would select me to this seat on the Water Authority. But I'm a collaborative leader and want to work well and play nice with others, so I'm happy to have any discussion you guys would like to have on this.
Mayor, I'll just.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was mentioning for the time that I've been on the commission and on the Water Authority Board that the mayor has always been one of the 3 representatives on the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. So I don't see any reason that should change. So I'll make a motion that we appoint you, Mayor Morris, to the Water Authority Board.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion to appoint myself to the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority as the city's 3rd representative by Mayor Pro Tem Bryant. The second came from Commissioner Garza. Commissioners, please vote.
No, we can still have a discussion.
If you like, we can have more discussion. Otherwise, please vote. And the vote is 7-0. The motion is carried. Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate your confidence in me there, and I'll do a good job. Next is reports of boards, officers, and committees. One planned report there tonight from one of the stars of tonight's meeting, Ms. Leanne Melanson, with the monthly investment report.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, 3 times in one evening. I know. I'll make this very short, as usual. March 31st, so we are now 3/4 of the way through in this fiscal year. Our beginning cash of $46.8 million, our ending cash of $46,700,000. Brief overview. These, as Mr. Robinson did mention in the report on the audit, since I had all of the entries, everything now is tying in, so everything agrees with the very long learned experience of pooled cash and treasury funds. So, General Fund, Fund 1, our ending cash was $4.4 million. Fund 2, our solid waste, $1.9 million. Environmental Tax Fund 6, $8 million. Wastewater Fund 10, $4.3 million. Economic Development Fund 64, $3.2 million. Our Water Gross Receipts Fund 66, $4.7 million. Our Special Streets Fund 75, a little over $1 million. And our Drainage Improvement Fund 88, $1.1 million. A breakdown, we have about little over $23 million in our local banks and $23 million in our state pool. Our interest for the month was $3,500 with a year-to-date of $71,000. Our state pool is 0.0848%, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Ms. Melanson. Do we have any questions?
Ms. Melanson, I just want to tell you that you've been very busy lately. I know what it's like to undergo an audit at the same time you're implementing software, at the same time you're presenting reports to the commission, and the city is very lucky to have you. And thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thank you for those remarks, Commissioner Paula. We agree. Thank you for all you do, Ms. Melanson. Any other comments or questions? Okay, great. Any other reports under reports of boards or committees? You're going to let me do the report? I'll report briefly. I told you I would report on these things, and so I want to do it. I met with the Mayor's Council earlier in the week. There were no significant changes announced. However, they have signaled that they will soon be transitioning away from the red to green to turquoise framework and into something else that will most definitely be based on rate of vaccination, whether that's by county or the rate of vaccination of the state. And so we can watch for news on that. And the Mayor's Council asked Governor's staff, if there were some decisions being made on that, to please call a meeting before our next scheduled meeting, and so that we could have perhaps some input or at least some heads up on that. Also wanted to report as to the working committee that the county formed that you appointed me to. The working committee whose task is the formation of a land trust, and a land trust whose goal would be groundwater conservation out in the Cannon Air Force Base area, partnering with the REPI program that Cannon Air Force Base has applied for, and have had a few meetings, at least two, I've almost forgot, but at least two productive meetings where we were actually talking about the work. And the next meeting is scheduled for next Monday. So just wanted to share that, and right now what's being discussed is the makeup of the newly formed Land Trust Board, and as it's being discussed right now, the city would have a seat on the newly formed Land Trust Board. So just wanted you to be aware of that so that you could think about those things and kind of look down the road a little bit. And I'd take any questions on either of those if you like.
It's such a good job, nobody want to be with questions.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, guys, we'll move on. Future agenda items, one that I know of is we need to do the work of appointing the Charter Review Committee. If you remember, we decided several meetings back that myself, Commissioner Paula, and Commissioner Rowley would be on the Charter Review Committee, but we will need representatives, citizen representatives from each district for that. So I think we can have that as an agenda item for the next meeting. Yeah. Mr. Howald or Ms. Burrows, any future agenda items to mention?
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, we have a resolution for the CDBG regarding the Hillcrest Senior Center. Some vacancies for the Civic Center Policy Committee, an Older American Month proclamation, and a transfer of ownership of a liquor license for Blazing Wings. So that's the only ones I have so far. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other future agenda items? Okay. We'll move on to announcement of date, time, and place of city board and commission meetings. Are they all on as far as we know right now? Okay. All right. Clovis-Carver Library will meet at 5:30 p.m. Monday, April 19th, here in the North Annex. Finance Committee, 2 p.m. Wednesday, April 21st, Assembly Room at City Hall. Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Committee, 5:30 p.m. Monday, April 26th. That will actually be a field trip style meeting out at Ned Houck Park to look at the Happy Pappy Museum items, right? Yes. Right, okay. The Public Works, excuse me, the Public Works Committee will meet at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, April 28th, here in the North Annex. Civil Aviation Board, 5:30 p.m. Tuesday, May 4th, here in the North Annex. And our next City Commission meeting is at 5:15 p.m. Thursday, May 6th, which is also National Day of Prayer. Don't forget that. And with that, we are adjourned.